The toilet door bangs shut behind her. Nadia doesn't cry. She's past crying. She's past everything. She presses her back against the cold wall and stares at her phone, 47 unread messages, and reads none of them. Outside, the wailing is so loud it sounds like the earth itself is refusing her husband's body. 2 funerals. Same Seoul cemetery. Same afternoon. 2 powerful families pouring their grief into the open air like it costs nothing. She feels none of it. That's what nobody tells you. Sometimes grief doesn't arrive as tears. Sometimes it arrives as a clean, bloodless nothing, like something reached into your chest and removed the part responsible for feeling, and left the rest of you standing upright, functioning, nodding at words you don't hear. The door opens. She expects an aunt. Another elder with soft hands and a voice full of "Be strong, be strong." Instead, a man walks in. Dark suit. Korean. Late 30s. Eyes that have already witnessed something today they cannot unsee. He walks in like he belongs in her pain. Like he has a key. He doesn't speak immediately. He just looks at her. "You're going to stop that." "Stop what?" "Disappearing." His voice is low. Almost amused. "You're still standing. But you've been gone for a while." She opens her mouth. "Get out, who are you, how dare you come in here," and then his hand finds the curve of her waist. Brief. Certain. Not a question. And something ignites in her that has absolutely no business igniting today, in a cemetery toilet, in her funeral dress, with her husband's name printed on a program in her handbag. "You." "Me." And then he kisses her. Not gently. Not apologetically. Like a man who has already lost everything and has decided the remaining hours of this day belong to something that is at least honest. She kisses him back. For exactly 7 seconds. Then she steps away, chest heaving, and the full horror climbs through her body like cold water rising. "I just buried my husband." He doesn't flinch. Doesn't look away. "I just buried my wife." Real silence falls between them. The kind that doesn't add to noise, it cuts through it. Outside, 2 families are performing grief. Flowers, white canopies, suits, crying that has a shape and a rhythm. And in here, 2 people have bypassed performance entirely and arrived somewhere no map names. "Who are you?" she asks. Someone who knows that look. What look? The one where grief doesn't break you. It just leaves too much. Too much silence. Too much space where someone used to be. Nadia stares at him. Because that is the first true thing anyone has said to her all day. "Leave me alone." He doesn't move. "Nadia." She freezes. "I didn't tell you my name." "Someone called you." "Outside." Maybe they did. Maybe he's lying. It doesn't matter. What matters is the way he said it, like her name meant something in his mouth before he even knew her. She looked at his face. Searches it for something wrong. A red flag. Anything she can use to walk out of this room and never think about it again. She finds nothing. That, she will later understand, is the most dangerous sign of all. His name is Kang Jiwon. She learns this not from him, but 3 days later, from a newspaper. She is sitting in her Lagos living room, surrounded by casserole dishes brought by neighbors, surrounded by exhausted silence of a house that has had too many visitors and not enough honesty, when she opens her phone, scrolls without purpose, and sees the headline. Kang Group announces emergency board session following death of heir's wife. There's a photo. Dark suit. The same eyes. Kang Jiwon. Second son. Seoul's most closed-off businessman. Married for years to Seo Yena, daughter of the Seo shipping family. No children. No scandals. A man described by every journalist as difficult to read. Nadia puts her phone face down on the table. Her hands are not shaking. They should be. They aren't. She picks it back up. Reads the article again. Then closes it. Then opens it again. Because there is a detail buried in the fourth paragraph that she almost missed, sources close to the Kang family confirm that Jiwon's late wife, Seo Yena, died of heart failure. However, questions remain about the timeline of her diagnosis, which family insiders claim was kept private even from her own parents. Nadia reads that sentence 4 times. Then she thinks about her husband. Adebayo. Bright, laughing Adebayo. Who died of what the doctors called sudden cardiac arrest. Who had no history of heart problems. Who ran 5 kilometers every Saturday morning. Who kissed her forehead every night before sleep. Who, she now remembers, received a phone call 3 weeks before he died that he stepped outside to take. Who came back inside with a face she didn't recognize. Who said it's nothing, work, and never brought it up again. She sits very still. Then she picks up her phone and does something she hasn't done in 3 days. She makes a call. Getting his number takes her 48 hours and 2 favors she didn't want to spend. A mutual contact, a Korean-Nigerian business community, Lagos chapter, one of Adebayo's colleagues, eventually produces it without asking too many questions. Nadia has always been the kind of woman people hand things to without asking why. It's the voice. The stillness. The way she looks at you like she already knows the answer and is simply giving you the opportunity to tell the truth. He picks up on the second ring. I saw the article, she says. No greeting. No name. I wondered when you'd call. Your wife's diagnosis was hidden. Yes. My husband had no history of cardiac problems. Jiwon. First time she uses his name. It lands between them like a stone dropped into still water. Were our spouses sick? Or were they killed? The line is quiet for a moment. I think you already know the answer. And I think that's why you called me instead of the police. She flies to Seoul 9 days after the funeral. She tells her mother-in-law she needs air. She tells her sister she has meetings. She tells nobody the real reason because the real reason sounds like a woman who has lost her mind. I kissed a stranger in a cemetery toilet and now I think our spouses were murdered and I am flying to a city I barely know to sit across from a man I should never have touched. Jiwon sends a car. She almost doesn't get in. She stands on the curb outside Incheon Airport in a grey coat, luggage behind her, watching the black car idle, and has a full conversation with herself about sense. About grief doing strange things to the brain. About how this is not her problem to solve. About how she should go home, sleep, let the law handle it if there's something to handle. She gets in the car. His apartment is in Gangnam. Floor-to-ceiling windows. A city spread below like an answered question. He is already there when she arrives, jacket off, sleeves rolled, looking like a man who hasn't slept in the same 9 days she hasn't slept. There are 2 files on the table. He doesn't offer tea. Doesn't do small talk. She respects this immediately. Yena's diagnosis was made 8 months ago, a private cardiologist. A man my father recommended. I was not told. Yena was told to rest, take medication, avoid stress. She was 29 years old and she ran marathons. Nadia opens the file. Medical documents. Prescription records. A name, Dr. Lim Changsu. A clinic address that, she will later discover, does not appear in any official medical registry. And this doctor disappeared the week after Yena died. She sets the file down. Opens the second one. And her breath stops. Because inside the second file is a photograph she recognizes. It is Adebayo. Standing outside what looks like a hotel lobby in Seoul. Laughing. Shaking hands with a man she doesn't recognize, older, silver-haired, Korean, a man who wears money without announcing it. The photo is dated 11 months ago. My husband was never in Seoul. That photograph was taken from Yena's phone after she died. Before I gave it to her family, I kept copies of everything. Why? Because Yena was not the kind of woman who kept secrets. And this was a secret. Which meant someone kept it for her. Nadia looks at the photograph again. Adebayo's smile. That open, easy, unguarded smile she fell in love with. Looking at a man she's never seen, like he knows him. Like he trusts him. Who is that man? She asks. My father. The silence that follows is the loudest thing in the room. Nadia sets the photograph down. She looks at Kang Jiwon, at this man she kissed in a toilet while the earth was still settling over her husband, and she understands that she has walked into something whose edges she cannot yet see. Your father knew my husband. It appears so. And both our spouses are dead. Yes. And you didn't know about any of this until after Yena died. No. Are you sure? The question hangs there, ugly and necessary. She watches his face. The jaw. The eyes. The stillness of a man who is used to being read and has learned to give nothing away. If I had known, they wouldn't be dead. They'd have been warned. She believes him. She doesn't know why. She knows it's dangerous to believe a man you've known for 9 days, in a situation this tangled. She believes him anyway. Maybe because grief has stripped her of the patience for anything that isn't true. Maybe because the alternative, suspecting everyone, would leave her completely alone. Maybe because of 7 seconds in a cemetery toilet that she refuses to think about. What do we do? She asks. Jiwon reaches across the table and opens a third file she hadn't noticed. Inside, a name. A company. A connection between Kang Group's most recent acquisition, a Lagos-based logistics firm, and a deal that, according to a source Jiwon won't name yet, Adebayo had been quietly building a case against. Adebayo, who was a trade compliance officer. Adebayo, who told her it's nothing, work after a phone call 3 weeks before he died. Nadia looks up. He knew, Adebayo found something. And someone found out that he found it. And Yena. I think Yena saw something she wasn't supposed to see. In my father's study. At a dinner I asked her not to attend. She attended anyway. She was stubborn like that. Something crosses his face then, brief. Real grief. Not the managed, architectured grief of a man rebuilding himself. Something that slipped through. She looks away to give it space. So your father? I don't know what my father is yet, I know he is the thread. I don't know where the thread leads. And I need someone who loved Adebayo Ose the way I loved Yena, someone with access to his records, his contacts, his mind, to help me pull it. Nadia is quiet. Outside, Seoul moves. Cars, light, a city that owes her nothing and contains every answer she needs. He had a laptop, password protected. I never opened it. I thought it was just work. Where is it? Lagos. My house. How soon can you fly back? I just flew here. I know. I'll come with you. She should say no. Every reasonable part of her, the part that remembers she is a widow of 9 days, that remembers this man is a stranger, that remembers she has a mother-in-law and a sister and a community of people already watching her with worried eyes, that part says, no. Absolutely not. Send him whatever is on the laptop digitally and keep your distance. Fine. Lagos receives them like it receives everything, loud, unasked, immediate. She watches Jiwon in the back of the taxi from the airport, watching the city through the window. He doesn't perform discomfort. He doesn't perform fascination. He just watches, with the same thorough attention he turned on her in a cemetery toilet, like he is cataloguing something. First time in Lagos? She asks. Third. He doesn't look away from the window. I came twice for the acquisition. The acquisition. The deal Adebayo was building a case against. She files that and says nothing. The house still smells like him. That is the thing she wasn't prepared for. She has been braced for everything, the files, the danger, the confusion, the presence of a near stranger in her home, but she wasn't braced for walking through her own front door and being hit, physically hit, by the smell of Adebayo's cologne still alive in the air. She stops in the doorway. Jiwon stops behind her. He doesn't say, "Are you okay?" He doesn't say, "Take your time." He says nothing. He just waits. And somehow that is the only correct response. She breathes in. Breathes out. Walks to the study. The laptop takes Jiwon 40 minutes to open. He has a contact, he makes one call, receives a code, doesn't explain. She doesn't ask. What opens on the screen breaks the room open. Adebayo had been documenting for 7 months. Careful, in the way of a man who knew the stakes. Shell companies. Payments routed through 3 countries. A logistics network that moved legal cargo on record and something else beneath it. Names. Dates. Amounts. And at the center of it all, a name Nadia doesn't recognize. But Jiwon does. She sees it in the way he goes still. The stillness she now recognizes as the thing he does when something costs him. "Who is it?" she asks. He looks at her. And for the first time since she met him, he looks, not frightened exactly. Frightened isn't the word for a man like him. He looks like a man staring at an answer he already knew and had spent considerable energy hoping was wrong. My brother. The story doesn't end there. It never ends where you expect it to. That is the nature of secrets, they have roots, and roots have roots, and by the time you find the bottom of one, you have started 3 new searches without meaning to. What Nadia learns over the next weeks, sitting across from Jiwon in her study in Lagos, then in his apartment in Seoul, then in a lawyer's office in Accra, then in a hotel room in Jeju where they have driven to meet a witness who won't come to the city, is this. Adebayo didn't stumble onto the network. He was recruited to look the other way. He said no. He started documenting instead. He was warned. He didn't stop. Yena didn't overhear something at dinner. She asked questions she was told not to ask, about money her father-in-law moved through her family shipping company without her father's knowledge, and when the answers didn't come, she wrote them down. 2 people. 2 cities. 2 different entry points into the same machine. Both dead at the same moment. Same cemetery. As if someone planned that too, a cruel poetry, burying them side by side. What Nadia also learns, against every effort she makes not to, is Jiwon. Not the version of him she assumed from the newspaper. Not the cold businessman. The actual man. Who makes coffee without asking how she takes it and somehow gets it exactly right the second time. Who reads with the same attention he does everything else, total, undivided. Who has a habit, when something troubles him, of going very quiet and very still rather than speaking, and how once you learn that habit, you start reading his silences like sentences. She doesn't allow herself more than that. She is 9 days a widow. Then 4 weeks. Then 2 months. The math matters. The math is the only thing keeping her honest. But there is a moment, in the hotel in Jeju, after the witness has given them everything they came for, after the adrenaline has settled and they are sitting on the floor of the room eating instant noodles because neither of them had eaten all day, when Jiwon looks at her and says, "He loved you very much." I can tell from the way he documented. He wasn't just building a case. He was trying to get out clean. So he could come home to you. Nadia puts her chopsticks down. "Don't," she says. "Don't what?" "Don't make me cry right now." "I'm not trying to." "Then stop being perceptive." "I'll try." She looks at the ceiling. Breathes. Holds it together by the thinnest thread. Yena was lucky. To be loved like that. By someone who couldn't stop seeing her even when he didn't say it. She means him. They both know she means him. "We should sleep, the flight is early." She nods. They don't talk about it again. But it exists now. In the room. in the space between them that started in a cemetery toilet and has been growing, stubbornly, in direct defiance of everything appropriate, ever since. The case breaks open 4 months later. Not the way Nadia imagined, not dramatically, not publicly. It breaks the way real things do: a document filed in the wrong jurisdiction, a name that appears on a manifest it shouldn't, an auditor in Accra who has been sitting on a report waiting for the right moment to hand it to the right person. Jiwon's brother doesn't go quietly. But he goes. His father, who Nadia has now met, twice, in circumstances she never could have imagined, is harder to read. He is not the monster she built in her mind. He is something more complicated. A man who knew less than his son and covered more than he should have. A man who, when confronted with what his silence cost, 2 young people, 2 families, 2 futures, cannot look at Jiwon. Cannot look at Nadia at all. She doesn't forgive him. She doesn't think forgiveness is the right category for what happened. But she looks at him clearly, without flinching, and says, "My husband's name was Adebayo Kolade Osei. He was 34 years old. He made the best jollof rice in Lagos and he couldn't whistle no matter how hard he tried, and he loved me in a way that was so quiet I sometimes didn't notice it until I needed it." Remember his name. 6 months after a Seoul cemetery. After a door that banged shut and a man who walked in like he belonged there. Nadia is back in Lagos. Her house doesn't smell like Adebayo anymore, not because she's forgotten him, but because she stopped bracing herself against the memory. It lives in her now differently. Not as a wound. As a weight she has learned to carry without hunching. She is on her balcony when her phone rings. Seoul number. She picks up. It's done, the filing. Everything. I know. I got the email. Silence. The comfortable one they have built slowly over months of long calls and instant noodles and hotel lobbies and silences that say more than most people's speeches. What do you do now? I don't know yet. She looks at the Lagos skyline, the familiar mess of it, the beauty she stopped seeing for a while and has recently started seeing again. You? Same. There's a conference. Lagos. In 2 months. I have business reasons to attend. She doesn't smile. She doesn't let herself. Not yet. Business reasons. Yes. Jiwon. Yes. Don't make it anything. Don't what? 2 months. 2 months, he says. She hangs up. Sits with the Lagos evening. Thinks about a man who walked into her grief like he had a key and turned out to be right about every hard thing. Thinks about Adebayo, who loved her quietly and died trying to come home clean. Thinks about starting again. Not as an erasure. As a continuation. As proof that what was planted in you by good love doesn't die when the person does. It just waits. Patient. For the next right thing. She puts her phone down. Watches the city. Breathes. Some stories don't start with love. They start with 2 people standing in the middle of their grief, refusing to let each other disappear. And somehow, that's enough.